Hey everyone, exciting news. We've officially launched the Paranoid Perspective Patreon. If you love what we do, unpacking conspiracies, chasing mysteries, and laughing through the weirdness, now you can support the show and get more of it.
So, for as little as $5 a month, you will get exclusive access and extra perks to the episode. Sarah, what do we get with tier one?
So, tier one is the Curious Minds, and you get a shout out at the end of every episode.
Next tier, this is what you guys really probably want, ad free episodes. We don't need those pesky ads that you guys are getting on Spotify, Apple, whatever else. You will get all episodes ad free, along with what else, Sarah?
You'll also get it ahead of time. So before the episode releases for that week, it'll be available for you to watch or listen.
So, if you guys are interested, check in the show notes down below, or you can head to patreon.com/ the Paranoid Perspective Podcast. Welcome back to the Paranoid Perspective. I am Jake.
I'm Sarah.
Today we are getting into yet another missing person thing. Sarah, I think you've got some weird, obsession with missing people. Is that a thing?
I just want them to be found.
There you go. Okay, we'll err on the side of caution and go with that one. So,
Yeah.
who are we talking about today, Sarah?
So today we're talking about Lauren Spierer, who went missing in 2011, and she was an IU student, Indiana University. I never say the whole thing, but IU for those who don't know. But yeah, she was 20 at the time of her disappearance, and I did not know her.
Well,
Putting that out there.
so listeners, I made a joke before we started recording,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Well, did you happen to know this girl?" And obviously she doesn't, but I was about to inform the authorities if she did, because I feel like we have a common trend here, and it happens to be the host of a podcast.
Yeah, you would tell on your sister.
I mean, it just depends on the circumstances, I suppose. But
Yeah.
with two
Yeah.
missing people,
Yeah.
I love you, but listen.
Yeah. She was a little older than me because she was 20 in 2011 and I was in junior year. So
Oh yeah, yeah. You
she's
weren't even out of high
more,
school.
yeah. Yeah, she's more your age. So, but yeah, so this happened on June 3rd. So, like during the summer time, she wasn't in classes or anything, but she went out partying with friends. IU is notorious as a party school.
Yep.
And she's seen with an acquaintance on the way back to his townhouse, and then she's never seen again. We're gonna get into it.
So in the span of, I'm assuming, I don't know the story. I'm going to be, pretty transparent. I'm assuming in the span of a walking distance from wherever they were at to.
hmm
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Well, she goes into his townhouse,
Oh,
but
okay.
then, yeah, then she's never seen again. She's never seen leaving that area.
Ah,
So,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, she was born on January 17th, 1991. She's originally from Scarsdale, New York, which is like close to New York City. So she had a boyfriend, Jesse Wolf, who she met when she was 17 at a Jewish summer camp.
I'm sure
So
that was
then,
riveting.
yeah, Camp Tawanda in Pennsylvania.
Hey,
So when she graduated in 2009, she decided to follow Jesse to IU for college.
that's always
So
a smart move.
yeah,
Why would
and
you do that? I'm sorry. I don't mean to derail, but
I don't
that's
know.
so dumb. And I mean,
Well, it happens all the time.
yeah, and usually not well.
No, yeah, sometimes people make it, but yeah, usually it's not a good idea. But she was studying textiles, merchandising, I guess.
That's
I guess
interesting.
that's a thing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know
Okay.
that. But she also had long QT, which is a genetic heart disorder that causes fluttering arrhythmias and bouts of like severe drops in blood pressure,
Mm-hmm.
which she usually didn't tell many people. Like she still played sports and she would still do like other vigorous activity, even though she had this disorder. So she like didn't really let it hold her back, I guess. And like only her closest friends knew that she had this,
Uh, well,
and like her family.
yeah. I mean, with something like that, I mean, as long as I think you're monitoring it, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. I would think any sort of
Yeah.
pharmaceutical drugs or especially alcohol would not be a good, idea to consume large quantities of that with that sort of ailment, but
Yeah. So, in high school, she was already starting to mix in with the wrong type of people, and she was an avid drinker and
as
drug
one
user.
does in high school, not the drugs
Yeah,
and alcohol, the wrong type of people. I think we've all
you're
been
right.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you don't know who to trust and stuff, but she did get into drinking and drug use, even though she had this disorder. But before her parents allowed her to go away to like IU, she had to attend a 6-week rehab program to like
Holy
try to
shit.
address the issue.
Well, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna look at it from another side too. Was it really like she was like an addict, or was it more of her parents were like super conservative and controlling? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, from the way she partied at IU, I would say it was a little bit of an addictive personality, maybe, but I don't know her. I don't
Well,
know the
sure,
details, but
but I don't know. That just
um,
seems really extreme. To,
yeah,
I mean, not saying that people don't fall into that addiction, but I don't know. That just seems kind of crazy.
yeah. And I don't even know like what drugs exactly,
Well, that's
or
what I'm
like
saying. Are
maybe
we
a bunch of
talking
different
about,
ones.
yeah, are we talking about just smoking weed and drinking beer? Because like if that's the case, like
No.
that's okay. Okay.
No, we're not talking just that. Nope. I mean, when the day she disappeared, some of her friends said what she took, so we'll get to that later. But it was not
Okay.
just like weed and
Okay.
beer or wine or whatever. But yeah, I mean, her parents were concerned about her use, so that was the only way they were going to let her go follow her boyfriend to IU. So she did complete the program before she left. Yeah, and I was just gonna say, like, IU Bloomington specifically is like in the top 20 schools of all of the US as a party school. It's like
Sure
number three.
is.
So, yeah. So it is a little interesting, even though she did that rehab program that like she was allowed to go. Maybe they didn't know
That's
that
gonna
it was such a
say
big party school,
I
but
don't think it's like I think it's well known, but I don't think it's like universally
yeah,
known.
right. And they're New York, so they probably don't care or know anything about that.
Yeah, nobody
About
parties in
Indiana.
Indiana. There's only cornfields and rednecks out there. You know what I mean?
That's where the cool parties happen.
That's very true.
So her boyfriend, Jesse Wolf, was part of a Jewish fraternity, Alpha Epsilon Pi. Um, and they ended up, that fraternity was like booted out of the fraternity system because
What?
of they had some misconduct and stuff, but they still got together often, like as if they were still a fraternity, but it was like broken up.
So I got you. I got you. Got you.
That
What was the
happened to one on
misconduct?
my school. I don't know. I don't know. But that happened to one of the fraternities at my school too, while I was
Well,
there, because
what
they,
happened at your school then?
um, like a lot of, I don't know, like sexual assault
Uh,
and
yeah.
drugs and yeah, and like underage. It was like a big problem. So
Yeah, that would do it.
yeah. So I don't know what happened with that fraternity with them, but a lot of these people, like the men in this fraternity, came from the New York area, so they're also called FLIDs, like fucking Long Island douchebags, which apparently
Oh,
they were fine with. They didn't
I mean,
dislike it necessarily.
I was about to say, wow, that sounds like a racial slur, and I don't mean to laugh, but man, that really is that's a good one. That is a good
Yeah.
one. I guess it's not really racial, it's more of a what would the word for like a location? Can you be like
Mm, yeah,
biased towards locate what would that be? Anyway,
that's well, because that's like not even as a state.
that's what I'm
I don't know.
saying. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but yeah, they were not maybe the best group of guys, but like I feel like a lot of fraternity guys maybe aren't the best, but
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I feel like I don't want to generalize, but
Yeah,
everybody has that. When you say frat boy, you automatically have a mental picture in your head of just some
right.
bro douchebag that drinks too much and likes to be an asshole.
Yeah. But he also had a jealous streak, and he was already talking about marrying Lauren, even though she was 20. He was like 22, I think.
Okay.
So she wasn't ready. She told him that all the time, and she felt increasingly stifled by the relationship. But I don't know. He was a little overbearing, I guess. And like sometimes guys would flirt with her, and then he'd get jealous and like blow up on her for the guy flirting with her. So,
Oh, dude, blow up on the dude. What are you doing, man?
right. Yeah. So I don't know. But I guess a week before her disappearance, a group of them went to the Indy 500. So Lauren went with them, and it was like some of the well, not the frat guys, some of her other friends went. But her boyfriend was in Atlanta visiting a friend at the time, so he couldn't go. But like he would talk to Lauren, and then he also received updates from his fraternity brothers who were also at the Indy 500. But like they saw Lauren, but weren't part of her group.
So, like
And then
spying.
yeah, one of them told him that she was wearing like a risque outfit.
Oh
I don't
my
really,
God.
yeah. And I guess
Listen.
it was a blue, this is what she wore. It was a blue Barack Obama t-shirt that was like scissor cut, like that
Mm-hmm.
trend into a tank top. That was showing parts of her bra because of the way that style is.
Okay.
And that they called that risque. So,
Listeners, for those that might not know, the Indy 500 is a pretty big deal, and It it never fails. It's like the hottest day of summer when it
oh,
happens.
yeah.
Every
Yeah.
single year. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's so hot there. So yeah, tank tops, crop tops, tube tops, you're going to see no shirt. You're going to
Yeah.
see all the above if you go to the Indy
Right.
500. So a little scissor
Yeah.
cut t-shirt with a little bit of a bra showing is not anywhere close to
Right.
risque.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. But I guess also a guy that went with her group, he was kind of like an acquaintance, but he went with them, and I guess he was flirting with her too. His name's Corey Rossman. He comes up later.
That son of a bitch.
Yeah, but he was offering her liquor and cocaine while hitting
Oh,
on her,
as
which
one as
apparent
one does.
right. Well, which apparently she did not reject
Yeah,
taking
well,
either of those.
yeah, if
So,
it's free,
well, yeah, but cocaine, she's got that heart thing.
it's free.
Yeah, and she's 20.
Yeah, we're young and wild.
And also, apparently, on the drive back home, this guy, Corey, told Lauren's friend, his name's David Roan, but he told him that he wanted to fuck Lauren.
Hmm.
And then Roan said, well, she has a boyfriend. And then he replied with, I don't care. So
As
he's not,
as college people
yeah,
do. Well,
right.
not even college people, as just assholes do. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I guess her boyfriend texted her saying he heard she was dressed provocatively, which she ended up yelling at his fraternity brothers for that, and then that triggered a text fight that
Oh,
happened between Lauren and Jesse. For over 2 days, they sent over 200 texts
Jesus.
as a fight. Why didn't they just
Dude,
call?
just well, that or just don't respond. Just let it
Yeah,
be. Let it oh, anyway.
but I guess they kind of made up by the time they both saw each other again at IU.
Mm.
So, but that was kind of, the week or two before she disappeared. And then the night of her disappearance, her and her friend David went to their friend Scott's house, like party, to watch the NBA finals between the Dallas Mavericks and the Miami Heat. So Lauren was like trying to decide while she was there if she wanted to hang out with Jesse or see this new guy, Corey, the asshole,
Mm.
at a party that her friend Jay Rosenbaum was hosting. He was also hosting that. And then Jay was also with another friend that she had met at the Camp Tawanda place. So like, well, Jay, that's who Jay was. So like they were close. They knew each other since high school too.
Right.
So he was like the closest of her friends, and then this other guy, David or whatever. But the other friends in her group she had met like while at IU, so it had only been like a year or two that she knew them.
Mm.
So,
So she
but
had
yeah,
one. She had one
what?
person there that she knew relatively well.
Yeah, I would say Jay for sure is the one she knew the most, like the longest,
Hmm.
besides Jesse, but he wasn't there. She was deciding to hang out with him or this other people, but and then her friend David that she went with, she
Right.
knew him pretty well. But these other people she wasn't as close with,
Right.
um but she ended up drinking a bottle of wine on an empty stomach at the first party.
As one
And
does.
then yeah, and then she went to Brian, this guy Brian's apartment. He's not important. Forget his name.
Okay.
She went
Already forgotten.
she, she went to his apartment, which was a few floors up. Um which he was her drug connection. So
As
she went
you,
up there. Yeah,
you need those.
right. So she went up there. Well, he was also her roommate's boyfriend. So that's kind of how she knew him.
I
But
see the connection now.
yeah, so her and her friend David, like her best friend, went up there. And while she went up there, she ran into another guy friend from Long Island who sold Xanax. So I think she ended up asking if he would sell any to her as well. And he didn't have any because it was the slow season because of summer. People left. So that's what it said.
Okay. I didn't know there was
Um,
a. I didn't know there was a peak season for Xanax sales.
because
I mean, I guess.
yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
He didn't have any, but then he was like, well, since like Lauren was a friend for like from Long Island, then he was gonna hook her up. So he
of
went to
course.
another friend to see if he could get any for her. So while he's trying to figure out if he could get any Xanax for her, she went to the other guy's place and got cocaine from him.
It's a good substitute.
So yeah. So like she took the cocaine from him. He sold her a gram for $40. And then her and her friend David snorted a couple lines, like while she was waiting for the Xanax.
Well,
And she hasn't
duh.
eaten anything, I guess, and she's already had a bottle of wine. So
I mean, you don't really
she
need all those extra calories anyway. You're here for a good time, not a long time.
right. Well, yeah, after what happened then
I know.
yeah. But her roommate was there, like since her roommate's that was her boyfriend's house or whatever. So she was there and like told Lauren like maybe don't mix drugs and the alcohol and like she was concerned for her. But Lauren just said back off.
I do what I
So
want.
yeah, and I guess Lauren in their group they said she was known as someone who could go shot for shot with people twice her size. Like she is a tiny woman.
Mm.
So I don't know if I put her height somewhere. I think she's like 5'3".
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
those are dangerous people, men and women, because they get
yeah.
really they get interesting once they start to get to that point because they are significantly more drunk than you are, but they don't
Yeah.
act like it.
Right. Yeah, it's a little scary sometimes. But yeah, I guess only like her very, very closest friends, which I would say her roommate was one of those, knew that she had been ticketed by police for public intoxication. And she, at that time, she was required to attend AA meetings.
Oh,
But those
wow.
aren't working for her because
Well,
she's
clearly.
still,
Well,
yeah.
just because you have to attend doesn't mean you have to abide. Those are, two different
Well,
things.
yeah. Right. Yeah, as long as she doesn't get caught in public again, I
Right.
guess. Yeah. And I guess like the last couple months, like with the semester ending, she had been stressed out, and her friend said she was losing weight and she looked pale, like
Okay, it'll
paler
do
than
that to you.
normal. Yeah, and her hair was thinning.
Mm.
So I think she used drugs a lot. But then her Long Island friend came back. He didn't find any Xanax, but he did find 4 Klonopin pills.
Oh,
So he
okay.
sold that to Lauren and David. So after they already did cocaine, Lauren and David went back to the NBA party and they like pounded the tablets into powder and cut like into 8 lines. And then they did 2 each. But then David went to the bathroom and came back and found that Lauren had snorted the rest.
Oh, man,
So
she's
she
just
had 6.
just an overachiever.
Yeah. So she's like fucked up.
Well,
I don't know how she's still like, I don't know. But then after that, she decided to go to Jay's house party where she would see this new guy, Corey, the
mm-hmm.
asshole.
Yep.
And David did go with her, so they arrived at the party around 12:30 a.m.
Okay.
So, yeah, where am I? And this isn't as just about Corey that wanted to get with Lauren and but Jay also warned him, don't do that and like it she's his friend and everything. So, I don't know, but he
Well,
was there.
I was gonna say under the influence of what she
Yeah.
was taking, I don't think she really gave a shit.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Yeah, so at the party, Corey made a move on Lauren, but then she spilled a drink on herself. So then he offered to throw her shirt into his dryer at his apartment, which was right next door to
mm,
Jay's. So Lauren accepted and they left the party, just the two of them, and went to his.
scandalous.
Yeah. But then Corey's roommate was also there, Mike Beth. So, like, someone's there, I guess that's not like he's not drinking or anything, a sober person.
Hell, I
But
don't really mean anything.
yeah. But yeah, so at the other house, David wants to leave and couldn't find Lauren because she went off without saying anything. And so like he finally found her at Corey's and like found her without her shirt on because it was being washed or whatever. So then he was like, Lauren, we're leaving. Like, get out of here. Like, he's trying to get her to go. And he like gave her shirt back and said, we're leaving. And she didn't want to leave. But also, the party was ending anyway at Jay's. But I guess they were thinking of going to Kilroy's sports bar.
Yep. Been there
So,
many a times.
yeah. Yeah, I've been there like twice. But yeah, Corey wanted to take Lauren to there, but David tried to convince her to just like wind down for the night because at this point it's probably 1 or 1:30 a.m.
Yeah, yeah. I
So,
mean,
and she's taking all this stuff.
yeah, but at the same time, man, like she's not in any state to calm down. She's still
Right,
raring to go and gonna be raring to go for quite a while.
right. Yeah. So, eventually David just gave up trying to convince her and he left and Corey took her to the bars. So, and then David did text Lauren saying, "Be careful and let me know if you need me." At 1:46 a.m., Corey and Lauren entered Kilroy's, which is seen on security footage, and Lauren was able to get in with her fake ID. Corey was of age, so
Yeah, yeah.
he was fine. And then at 2:27 a.m., footage captured her and Corey leaving the bar, and she was stumbling as she left, or as they left, and she had left her shoes at the bar. There's like an outdoor patio area that had
Yep.
sand, so she
Mm-hmm.
had left her shoes there. And she also left her phone at the bar, but she
Well,
still had,
I,
it was probably dead too.
I was gonna say it could have been anything from I mean, I've never left anything at bars, but I know plenty of my friends that have left probably anything you could possibly think of, from keys to, like you
Yeah.
said, shoes to phones to the debit or credit card they have paying for their tab. You know what I mean?
Right.
That happens all the time.
Yeah. But she did have her wristlet on her, which had her key card for her apartment complex and her ID still.
Mm.
So then they went to her apartment and she was struggling to walk at that point. She's like seen on CCTV this whole time or whatever. But at 2:30, she's seen entering Smallwood Plaza Apartments, which is where she lives. And then four guys noticed her, and one of them was a friend of Lauren's. So he, he said hello, and she didn't seem to recognize him, and she was,
Fucked up.
not fucking okay. So he like asked her what she was doing, and with this guy that he didn't recognize, like some random guy, which then Corey said like she was fine and that he's got her, and then they kind of led into an altercation because the other guys were like, "No, she's clearly not fine, and you don't got her. Like, who
Yeah,
the hell are you?"
I'm gonna tell you right now, if I was friends and if I saw one of my friends it show up with some random dude and she is fucked up, and some dude's just like, nah, mind your business. I'm beating the shit out of that dude because
Right.
he is clearly about to take advantage of her in that state.
Right. Yeah. So they did have an altercation. One of the guys did punch Corey in the face, which he fell to the
Good.
ground. But then after that, the four guys like fled, worried that that was caught on camera, that they like punched him.
Dude, you've already committed, man.
I
You
know.
you can't half-ass something like that, man.
Right. So that left Lauren alone with Corey. So, and then after that, Corey decided to take her to his apartment instead of hers, even though they're literally like right there.
Well, I mean, he did just get knocked on his ass by friends that obviously live there, so it's probably
Yeah,
what
but
he
you
was
could have
thinking.
left Lauren there
No,
and
man,
gone home.
he's still got ulterior motives.
I know, yeah. So at 2:48 a.m., they see like the CCTV sees Lauren and Corey leave the lobby, and then they pass by a hotel and a bank and a parking lot, and then they went down a dark alley where like halfway there is like another apartment complex. So Corey had some female friends there who had been at Jay's party, so like he tried to knock on their door and no one answered. So then they left. Like I guess he's trying to get help. I don't know. Because Lauren like can barely walk from the
Right.
CCTV. Like he's having to carry her basically.
Hmm.
And she did fall a couple times. But yeah, they went back to the parking lot. They had to stop and she had to sit down on a nearby like stairwell for a little bit because she couldn't walk. And then she ended up hitting her head on the concrete because Corey tried to like pick her up and she like slipped and fell. So, and then a witness, there was a woman who had just gone off as a bartender and she heard like Lauren hit her head on the concrete and she asked Lauren if she was okay, which Lauren did not respond. And then she said Lauren looked sweaty and dazed, but Corey said she was just drunk. And then he picked her up and carried her like down the stairs toward an alley that like led to his townhouse. So he's like carrying her like bridal style.
Right.
So yeah, and then Lauren was trying to walk again and she ended up dropping her wristlet in this alley. So now she has like nothing on her. And then she fell again, like forward this time, and she couldn't raise her hands in time. So she fell face first into the pavement. So yeah, it was not good. And then he ended up calling a friend because he kind of helped her just sit down on a curb after she fell. She fell face first and then she fell again. I'm not sure how, but she fell like twice in a row. And so he just sat her down. And then he called a high school friend, Brooke Bolins, who was in Massachusetts. So he called her twice. I don't know why he called her. He called at 2:05 a.m. and at 2:55 a.m., but she didn't answer.
I mean, what is he gonna get? Advice from somebody that's on the
I
East
don't know.
Coast
Right.
for help in the
Like,
Midwest like that? What?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why he called. I don't know. Just, I'm not sure. But yeah, he ended up picking Lauren back up like fireman style and carried her the remaining like block to his townhouse. So there were no security cameras in the townhouses at the time. So, this is where the story gets kind of like hazy
Mm,
because at this point you're only taking the word of like there were four men that were still like kind of in Jay's apartment who
yeah.
saw Corey and Lauren come back.
Hmm.
So it's just their story now, what happened after that. So Mike Beth, who is Corey's roommate, and then Corey is one of them, and then Jay, her friend from high school, and then he had two friends visiting from out of state, David Blesnick and Alex Ferber. So I guess five men. But they did say that one of the guys was already asleep.
Okay.
Blesnick, I guess
Well, I
David.
was gonna say we're at the point in time where it's what, 3:30,
It's
four
like
o'clock in the
3
morning.
a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I
right.
wouldn't imagine very many people would still be awake.
No. Yeah, and the party was over already and stuff, so.
Well, it'd been over for 2 hours.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
right. So, yeah, and Corey later said that he suffered a memory lapse from being punched.
Uh,
So he
Okay.
doesn't remember what happened when he
Uh-huh.
got back,
Yeah, yeah.
apparently.
I'm fucking piece of shit.
Right, yeah, and he never went to get, like, medically checked either from the punch, so it's
Well,
like, yeah,
because
whatever,
he
dude.
couldn't remember where the fucking hospital was at, obviously.
Yeah. So, yeah, and they said David was already asleep, and then I guess actually they said Alex, the other friend that was visiting from out of state, they said he wasn't at that house that night for something, like he was with someone else, I guess.
Mm,
So it
probably
really
another
just leaves
lady of the
Mike.
night.
It just leaves Mike, Beth, and Jay Rosenbaum, like their story.
So really just two people.
Yeah, because Corey refuses to say, even though he was probably fine. But um, yeah, so they couldn't consistently answer how, because Lauren went from Corey's to Jay's house, which was like a door or two down, and like between Mike and Jay, it was like not accurate. Like they were not telling the same story of how
Right.
she got to that house. And also from Jay's cell phone, there was two phone calls around 4 a.m. and they couldn't say who called or why or anything. Like they were like, I don't remember anyone doing that, even though it's clearly on the cell phone, like whatever. But and one of the calls was to her friend David, maybe to try to pick her up or something.
Yeah.
And the other call was to Scott Schwartz, who had the NBA party that she
Uh,
first went to. So it was a little weird that someone called. I mean, maybe she was trying to call them.
yeah, it could have been her, yeah.
Yeah. But Jay says she left his apartment at 4:30, and he claims he made Lauren walk a straight line to demonstrate that she was sober, which apparently she passed, which I don't think so. And he also claimed that she was insistent on going home, even though she had no shoes, she had no phone, she didn't have her ID to even get into her apartment.
Or the key to get into her
Right.
part. Like,
Yeah. But apparently she was fine to walk home.
so we're talking in the course of anywhere between an hour and an hour and a half, she just sobered up and was completely
Right.
fine after like not being able to walk, busting her head, what, 3 times? Come
Yeah.
on, man.
Right. Yeah, and he also said, well, his story changed too when he was questioned
Wow.
the first time and the next time. Because the first time he said he, like just said, okay, bye, like whatever, like watched her from his door on the first floor that she was leaving. But then the next time he said he watched her walking away from his second floor balcony.
See, lying right off the bat, you're adding unnecessary details to the story.
Yeah,
Very unnecessary.
right. And he said he watched her walk to the intersection of 11th and College, which was past like a construction site. But then, and he said nothing happened, like it was fine. And that's where he like couldn't see her anymore because she turned the corner or whatever. But then a different account, he said maybe there was a shadowy figure approaching Lauren at the corner, which like fueled speculation that she was abducted. But it's like, okay, if you saw that, dude, why wouldn't you have gone out there
Well,
or
that's what
call the cops or something? Like,
yeah. I mean, you already are worried if you're actually worried about her making it home. How about she wants to go so bad? If you're not being a piece of shit, how about you take her?
right. Exactly. He never offered to walk her home
See,
in
that's
any
what
of
I'm
his
saying.
stories.
And
Yeah.
judging
And
off of
that's her
what you
friend.
yeah, judging off of what you said too, like all of these places are relatively close to each other. Like we're talking within like a few blocks.
Yeah,
You
right.
know,
It would have taken 10 minutes maybe or
yeah, 10, 15 minutes, 30-minute round trip.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's not that hard. And apparently also people say like from because his balcony, it was like a Juliet style balcony, which you can't fully step out on or whatever.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So from where his apartment was to see 11th and College, it's like impossible
Hmm.
because there's a tree blocking it and stuff. So since he said he saw her walk to that intersection, and everyone's like, no, you couldn't have.
Well, once again, the
So
second
it's
people
not
start
adding up.
adding unnecessary details to an already, claimed event, it's pretty evident they're fucking lying.
Yeah. So, yeah, the next day, Jesse, her boyfriend, texted and called her, which eventually someone at Kilroy's ended up answering the phone and saying it was left there.
Mm.
So Jesse tried to go there to pick up the phone, but they said they could only give it to Lauren or the police, so he couldn't take it. And then Corey was seen in the morning by classmates, and they said that he had no bruising or noticeable redness on his face. So it's almost like, did he really even get punched?
I doubt it.
Right.
I mean,
Um,
if you got hit so hard that you fell down,
right.
you would think there'd be like something. But I mean, maybe not. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. And apparently he walked up to one of his classmates and he said, any of you happen to see a little blonde girl? So like he knew she was missing
Hmm.
before she was reported missing. Like,
Yeah.
'cause if she walked home, why would he ask that? I don't know. Um, but her roommate, Tamir, also noticed that she wasn't back in the morning, which she said was not atypical. So at first, people were not worried because
Well,
she could be sleeping on someone's couch or like she's often out partying and doesn't come back till like afternoon or whatever. So that didn't really raise alarm bells. Um, but then around like the afternoon, um, she got a text from Jesse and he was freaking out,
mm,
which maybe he's a little too overprotective, but he was calling everyone saying like she wasn't there and she left her phone and her shoes, which I don't think was unusual, but he just felt like something was off. So,
yeah, I mean, and knowing the group that she's with, like I'm sure if he's overprotective and as overbearing as he was, like he was probably calling anyone and everyone, and if he didn't have a phone number, he was getting it from somebody to
yeah.
figure out anything.
Right. Yeah, so he like talked to Tamir, he talked to the Sarah Gornish was another like friend of hers that was in the group. So like he texted both of them and then they were at the pool while he was freaking out and Corey and Jay also happened to be at the pool. So they asked like the guys, "Have you seen Lauren?" And then they did say they had seen her the night before, but she'd left and they said she'd left their townhouse pretty messed up.
Oh, so not in a straight
So
line.
like right, yeah. So they knew. So then they kind of joined their own like formed their own like little search party and
Mm,
the guys did join in to search, I guess. So they retraced her steps like from the townhouse to her apartment complex and they ended up finding her keys like down the alleyway between the pool
mm-hmm.
and her apartment. And then they like, tried to find anything and they just couldn't, obviously. And also, like, Corey called his high school friend again at like 2:22 p.m. So it's like, well, I don't know, whatever. But I guess they talked for 3 minutes,
Mm.
and no one knows what he said. But
He probably doesn't remember.
yeah,
That punch to the face just got him good.
right. Yeah, so and then David, her friend, ended up also joining the search party, and they all kind of congregated to like Lauren's apartment with Tamir. So you got like 6 people now, and they compared notes, and then they ended up calling hospitals and jails to see if she ended up in any of those. And they did find like her purse, so they ended up calling the police like I don't know what time.
Later that evening, I'm sure. No, no, you're fine. So they started in the
Yeah,
afternoon, and it was probably
right.
late afternoon when they probably got all together
Yeah,
and whatnot.
right. Yeah, and I guess a few months earlier, she had ended up passing out at a party at 3 a.m. and Jesse had gone to get her and carried her back to her apartment, which then she threw up on the bed and started convulsing. And like he didn't call 911 then because even though he thought she was dying, because he thought if he called 911 and got her in trouble with her probation thing, then she would never like date him, like she'd want to break up.
Oh,
So I
so it's
think he
okay.
was
I would
Yeah, I don't
rather
know.
I would rather you die than not be with me.
Right. Well, he watched her the whole night, but I think he felt guilty from that, and now this happened
Right.
because he could have, like, yeah. So, yeah, and then he ended up calling her older sister Rebecca, and Rebecca called her dad, who also then called her mom, and they all headed to the police station. Like, they started flying in, and then the friends went to the police station to report her missing. So, but Corey and Jay did not go with the group, even though they were part of the search party to the police.
Hmm.
So that was a little weird too. Um, so yeah, I guess she's 4'11",
Oh,
even
geez.
shorter than I thought. Yeah. 4'11", blue eyes, shoulder length blue hair. She was wearing a white tank top and black tights, and she was barefoot at the time. So that was the description they gave her. So yeah, Saturday morning, her parents ended up arriving at the Indianapolis airport, and they drove to Bloomington. And I don't know if they were together, but I guess Rob was from New York, and Charlene, her mom, was in Alabama tending to like her mom
Mm.
because her mom was having problems too. But yeah, instantly, obviously, like the four guys who were there that night became persons of interest. So Corey, Jay,
Yeah.
Mike, and David. And also, I guess her boyfriend, Jesse,
Even
just
though he
because
wasn't there?
I guess he said he was asleep, but he couldn't account for the time during that time.
Oh, okay. That's fair.
And he's the boyfriend. So I guess he was
Well,
still, and like I guess third parties couldn't confirm that he was at home that at that time, like asleep and stuff. And so yeah. And I guess because he was watching the NBA finals game with his frat brothers. And then he said when it ended, he talked to his roommate, and then they went to bed between 1:30 and 3 a.m. But one of his friends had a different story. His other roommate said that Jesse watched the game with him alone, not at the party. And then they stopped at like 3 a.m. And then like the roommate went to bed, so he couldn't verify if Jesse had gone to bed or left
right.
the house. So because of that one guy, I guess all the other people said, yeah, he was there, but are they just covering for him? Like, I
Well,
don't know.
I mean,
Um,
they are in that broken up fraternity, so it wouldn't be uncommon.
yeah. But yeah, I guess the news picked up the story like that Saturday because a family friend called it in and like elevated it, and then it became national news like super quick.
Yeah.
So I
I
guess that drew a lot of attention. And the four guys, like Jay and Corey, immediately lawyered up and like did not talk to the police. So what's that about? And I don't know, that seems a little
because
weird.
they done did it.
Yeah, right. And then David and Alex, the like out of state friends, they drove back to Michigan without talking to the police at all.
Oh,
Like that,
wow.
yeah. So like that's also strange. Um, and I guess Jesse's parents flew in from Long Island to like help search. And then I guess Jesse and his dad like barged into Corey's townhouse to confront him.
That's not a good idea.
Yeah, and I guess Mike, the roommate, had to break them up and force them to leave. But
I
then Jess, what? Yeah, that's not good.
why would you do that?
I don't know. And the dad, why is the dad helping with that? That's not a good idea. But then Jesse left, like just a few days after the searches started, he left with his parents back to Long Island. And then he did not come back. So it's also like, what's up with that? And also, like the police, like she had, maybe 10 friends or whatever. Only one of them like gave any tips to the police. So no one was talking to the police. That's
Jeez.
kind of sad. Yeah. And they started having daily briefings, the police did. And on the 12th day, they found like a CCTV of like a white truck, I guess, that had ran a stop sign and was like around where Lauren went missing, like around the same time.
Hmm.
And it was like circling the block, like weird. Uh, but and people said in the back of the truck you could see like a white blob that looked like a person. So people are saying it was, but it's like
Um,
so hard to tell.
yeah, especially on CCTV, like that could just been a
Yeah,
glitch, you know?
right. You want to see the picture, I guess?
Yeah, let's see it.
Let's share the right screen window. This one.
I
Oh yeah, you can
mean,
see it. Oh yeah, that's like, I don't know. It kind of does look someone holding their knees or something, but that's
yeah,
so hard to tell.
listeners, what we're looking at, you guys could be watching this if you check us out on YouTube, but listeners, we are looking at a four-door pickup truck with a pretty small bed. It looks like there's a tarp or something on the back end of the
Yeah,
bed. And I'm kind of thinking, like, I get where they're thinking that's a person, but it looks like it could be part of that tarp too.
right.
Like
Yeah,
getting
I
blown
think
up or
so.
something, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, that's yeah. So, well, I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay. But apparently the surveillance photos times were mislabeled. Why is this like happen all the time? But whatever.
Is that a
So,
problem in the metropolitan Indianapolis area? Is fucking
I guess
mislabeled CC like, listeners don't go to Indianapolis apparently because they're not
this
going
is
to find
Bloomington.
you. Well,
Well, yeah.
don't go to Indiana. How about that? We got Indianapolis and Bloomington. Okay, just don't go there.
Yeah, right.
The CCTs
So,
are all fucked up.
right. So after this mishap by the police, they scaled back their press release, like the press conferences, to just three
Yeah.
times a week.
Mm.
They did search a transit station for garbage because they thought maybe she was thrown into a dumpster or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so they did search that, and they also searched a landfill that's just south of Terre Haute, but like they didn't get a warrant in time for the trash to be totally halted. So like by the time they started searching the trash, it had been like 2 months
Oh
past.
yeah, man.
So it's like you're not gonna find anything.
No.
Yeah, and like I guess they couldn't the cadaver dogs didn't really work because there was like rotted meat and so in the trash, and
Yeah.
so they didn't find anything. And then the construction site that she apparently supposedly walked by on her way home, it had huge holes in it, which the next morning was filled. So I don't know if she would have fallen it. Like I don't think they would have filled it if if there's a body in there, but they couldn't search like that area anymore because the construction was done by that point.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I just don't know if it was if if the holes were filled that quickly. Like, honestly, do you really think the construction workers are going to be paying that much attention to holes and stuff like that if they're just there to fill 'em in?
well, you'd think if you saw a body,
Well, I mean, I'm just saying,
you wouldn't fill it with concrete.
do you think they're actually looking though?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think people are going to do their job and go about their business.
Safety first, though.
Oh man,
You
that's
gotta make
such a
sure your own person's not down there, or whatever.
oh
Your
well, maybe.
coworker. I don't know. I'm not sure, but they couldn't check anyway, so. But I guess Elliot Lewis, he owned several businesses in Bloomington, and he gave a couple tips to the police. He said he saw Lauren sitting on the doorstep of Jay's townhouse, like waiting for someone. And also, a different friend had said that they saw Jay and Lauren kiss at the Indy 500, so maybe they were developing a relationship.
Could be, or he
So,
was just giving her coke
yeah,
and she's trying
but
to get it for free.
right. Yeah, so he gave a couple tips to police, and he had other people who, like a list of people who said they might have seen her that night for the police to talk to. But like a couple days later, he followed up with those people, and the police like never contacted them
Oh,
to get tips. So I'm not sure they were doing their job, just like the other one, I guess. But
hey, once again, listeners, I'm not trying to throw any shade towards, the Metropolitan Bloomington Police or whatever they are called down there, but apparently they're on the same, wavelength as the IMPD as well.
yeah. So in September, her family flew back to New York and they hired a private detective from Beau Dietl, I guess, is the detective agency. Um, and like the detectives clashed with the Bloomington police. because I guess the Bloomington police weren't really welcome, like to them, for them to do their own investigation.
Yeah, they're stepping
So
on
it's
their
kind of like
turf, man.
egos. Right. Yeah. And like over the summer, a blog started too that was called Jay Rosenbaum Needs to Talk. So apparently a lot of people thought he knew more, and his story kept changing. So that didn't help. He also, I guess he told, as part of his story, he said like Lauren kept picking up his iPod to use as if it were a phone, and she might have taken it with her. But then when police were like, well, we could probably use that to track her, then he was like, oh, never mind. So he kept changing his
Why would they
stuff.
not try to track it then?
I don't
Like,
know.
that's what I'm saying.
Well,
Like,
he might have had it. I don't know. Maybe he was like, never mind, I have it here. Maybe he found it
uh-huh.
because it was missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And like also like Jake claimed his friend David was asleep, but like I guess Mike brought Lauren over to Jay's townhouse and Mike said that David was awake. So it's like Jay was trying to protect his friend from out of
Yeah.
town.
That's
I
what
don't know.
I'm getting a lot of this from this inconsistency is people just trying to cover not only their ass, but their friend's ass too.
Right. Yeah. And I guess Jay did do a lie detector test later and he passed, but the test was conducted by his lawyers because he wouldn't let the
What?
investigators do anything. So it's like, how is that even?
Yep, he
Yeah.
took it.
Yeah,
We're
he
good.
passed. Right. Yeah. So not great. Um, and I guess the family by fall, like the family had talked to Jay and Jesse and Mike by then to like try to get their story about what happened, but Corey refused to talk to them, which he's an asshole, so
Yeah.
whatever. And then the private detectives arranged to meet with Jesse, her boyfriend, in December before he graduated. But the day before they were supposed to meet, he left town and drove back to New York. And he didn't even like make arrangements to pay the rest of his rent, which was like 6 more months. And he left a bunch of stuff there. So I was like, why did you just leave?
Why did nobody follow that shit up?
I don't
Like, that's what I'm
know.
saying. Dude, if you saw that in any, like, fucking crime show, we're watching SVU or whatever, and the dude just
Right.
leaves, you go fucking find him. Like,
Right.
there's, that is
I guess
insane.
I guess out of their jurisdiction, I don't know.
That's fucking ridiculous. You have a missing person, you can find somebody wherever they're at to go get his
Right.
ass.
Yeah, it was weird. Also, I guess at the apartment he had like two paper documents that were like printed out, and one was an article titled The Killing of Kristen, which was the story about Kristen Lardner, who was murdered by her abusive boyfriend in 1992 in Boston. So he had that printed out. And then the other document, it was like a notebook page with an article titled The Stalking of Kristen, which said the law made it easy for my daughter's killer. So like why is he looking at this?
It sounds like he's like getting motivation and tips and tricks
Yeah,
from, fellow maniacs.
right. So I don't know. I feel like he's not innocent either, but I don't know. I guess in March 2012, Jay agreed to meet up with the private investigators. So he was consistent this time in his story
Well, he's had plenty of
to
time to get it
them.
straight.
Yeah, except one thing still was different. He said he went with Corey and Lauren to Kilroy's, which he wasn't on the CCTV. So, like, why are you
Yeah,
saying
why
that?
yeah, why would you say that? It's clearly you weren't.
Right. So that was weird that he like added that. He got that mixed up. And then he also said he was certain that he saw her walk away from his balcony and that there was a shadowy figure. So it's like, no, you're just trying to make it like throw it off or whatever. Yeah. And then like Lauren, I guess on her phone had a few missed texts and one missed call from an unknown number about 24 hours before her disappearance. And they were able to track that. Well, 2 years later, they tracked that down to a friend, Annie, from like high school, I guess.
Okay.
And I guess the Bloomington police had never followed up on that.
No
Like, who
way.
is this person? Yeah, no, they had not.
No
So
way.
the yeah.
That's
So the private
sarcasm.
I know. Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know. But the private investigators looked into it and I don't know. It was just a coincidence or whatever, but yeah, it's just the police aren't doing like anything, I guess.
Well, and once again, like I kind of said with the episode we did on Kirsten, I understand how incredibly hard that job is. And I understand, especially in a college town, you're dealing with drunk assholes all the time. I get it. And you're probably stretched thin and you're probably overworked. That being said, this is your job. Like the following
Yeah.
up, the investigating, like if you like I just don't understand why you would be in that position and not do your job. Like
Right.
it's not like, oh, I went to the office today and I didn't send off that report. Oh well, like
Right.
it's not that at all. You're a public servant that is tasked with finding and helping people. Like it just makes zero sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very weird. I guess we're gonna run a little long though. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay. So, around the 2-year mark, her family ended up filing a lawsuit against the three last men that were known to see her alive. So Jay, Corey, and Mike. They kind of took out the friends from out of state, I guess. But the idea with the lawsuit was to force them to share information through the court system because they'd have to disclose their text messages and phone calls, like if
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
in
I
the
got you. I got you.
proceedings.
I got you.
Yeah, so the lawsuit accused them of contributing to Lauren's presumed death. Like at that point, they assumed
For
she was
sure.
dead. Yeah. And like I guess if they didn't do it by the 2-year anniversary, then they'd lose certain like legal rights. So like they kind of felt
Oh,
forced to do it.
mm-hmm.
So it began on March 31st, 2013. So there were three arguments for it. One was that they were negligent, resulting in the disappearance, death, or injury of an adult child. And then the other one was another negligence, I guess negligence per se, arguing that because Lauren was severely intoxicated, like they owed her a duty of care and like failed to like provide that for her by letting her like walk away
Yeah.
alone. And then the third thing was called a dram shot argument, which I guess is usually applied to like bars that overserve customers. But I guess in Indiana, it can be applied to people who like continue to give alcoholic drinks.
For
Like
sure.
it doesn't have to be a bar, it could be an individual or whatever. So, and I guess her family claimed that these men were doing that, but they didn't have any proof.
Well,
But but it's
uh,
kind of a Hail Mary to get more evidence because these guys like lured up right away and they weren't
or
saying
left the
anything.
state and
Well, yeah, right.
like,
Yeah, so they kind of felt like they needed a judge to like force them
oh, for sure.
to participate.
For
Yeah.
sure.
But they didn't have proof that she was actually dead, so it was hard to like have that in the lawsuit.
I get that,
So,
but at the same time, I mean, you're looking at 2 years of
yeah,
not a trace of
right,
anything. Like, I hate to say it, but I mean that's a safe assumption at that point.
right. But another issue was that the police investigation was still open. So like
Oh,
anything they
okay. Yeah.
shared in this civil case could be used against them.
Yep.
So they like made it clear in their rebuttals that they would invoke their Fifth Amendment rights to remain silent, like if anything happened. So they pretty much had to drop the case. I mean, the case was dropped against Mike like early on because like he wasn't with Lauren at the bars and like there was no evidence that he had given her alcohol like once she came back and stuff
Right.
because he was
Mm-hmm.
kind of just the roommate or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and then the case against Jay and Corey, they had to dismiss it like months later because there was just no like evidence for the legal basis of it. So,
Yeah.
and they did try to appeal, but they didn't get anywhere either. So that's kind of, they were at a standstill. And then there hasn't really been much left. Somewhat, there was a journalist that made a book called College Girl Missing that came out last year. So it came out with some more information, which I read, and like that information was already in what I said.
Mm.
So since then, there hasn't really been any new information. But there are theories, of course.
Oh yeah.
So, well, the first theory is that she was maybe taken by a stranger, because I guess there was a witness who they said they saw someone who looked like Lauren walking down the street around 4 a.m. in like the same area that Lauren would have been in. And then they said a teal Dodge truck like rolled up and grabbed the woman off the street. So it's like, why
Well,
didn't you report this
that
earlier?
once again, man, like thankfully I don't think I've been in like too crazy of situations like that, but there have been a handful of times where I've seen some off the wall shit and been like, "Hey, I'm going to go ahead and call the cops on that because that just seems
Right.
like it's kind of crazy." Like,
Yeah.
and it's one thing, like if you see like a couple arguing, like no, I'm not going to be like, oh, domestic violence. I'm gonna no, they might just be having an argument, and if it's just verbal, whatever, they can yell and scream at each other. If I'm driving at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning and I see a car pull up and snatch somebody, I don't care if it's a
Right.
man, woman, whatever, off the road, I'm calling the fucking police.
Yeah. Like immediately. So I
Yeah.
don't know why that didn't happen. And she didn't, well, I don't know if it was a she, I guess. The witness didn't get the license plate. So it was like a dead end.
Well, I mean, still, I mean, even if you had called and reported, how many of these teal pickup SUV whatever are going to be out and about in that part of town at that time in morning?
Right. Yeah, and you'd think you
Like,
could see on the CCTV for that car,
yep.
but I don't, the police didn't really, surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
And another witness had said she heard screaming around 4 a.m., also in the area that Lauren would have been. So that some people do say maybe she was taken by a stranger at that point. I'm not really buying it, but
I mean,
another theory. Oh yeah,
well, to be fair, it is entirely possible. You were by yourself at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You're obviously extremely intoxicated. If some psycho piece of shit, whatever, drives by and sees an easy opportunity, they would take it.
yeah.
So
But the issue I have with it is that there's CCTV like on the 11th in college,
yeah,
like
yeah,
where
yeah,
Jay said that he saw her go to. So like she would have popped up.
yeah,
Like someone would have had to snatch her literally right there. So it's like I don't know about that,
yeah.
but maybe. Another theory is, of course, it was the boyfriend, Jesse, because he left strangely and like wouldn't talk and whatever.
And those
And
clippings of those articles,
yeah,
that's
right.
pretty creepy.
Yeah. And apparently on June 14th, so just I don't whatever, 11 days later or whatever, he posted on Facebook and he said, "Back in the Facebook relationship, I love you so much, baby, can't stop thinking about you," with like another woman. But then he
Oh,
deleted it the next day.
um,
But then
okay.
later in the fall, he ended up posting pictures of him and this new like love interest, and she looked
Um,
a lot like Lauren. I mean, people have a type, I guess, but
well, yeah, but people also don't save, you know,
yeah.
serial killer clippings from the news either. So,
Right. Also, he was prone to jealousy. Maybe he knew like Corey was flirting with her, or maybe she was starting a relationship with Jay and he found
uh,
out. Who
see,
knows?
but my only issue with that would be he wouldn't, if he's that jealous, would he just have killed her or would he have killed
Yeah,
Corey or Jay?
right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Or at least fight them.
that's what I'm saying. Like, there would have been something. He wouldn't have just been like, "Oh no, we're good." But you, the one that I like and we're dating, I'm killing you.
Right. Yeah. And also, there isn't any security footage of him going to that townhouse area because you
Right.
could see that like leading up to it.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's just a weirdo, I guess, with those clippings or whatever. But
Yeah, maybe.
yeah. But some people are saying, like, too, because he left only a couple days later, like, police didn't get to check his car. So maybe there would have been something in
Uh,
there, but
yeah.
I don't know. Another theory, have you heard of Daniel Messel? Apparently they think he might have done it. Some people think this.
That name sounds
Um,
really familiar, but I can't.
yeah. So he was convicted of killing Hannah Wilson, who was a 22-year-old IU student, and this was in 2015
Yep.
where
Okay,
he
I know who
killed
you're talking.
her.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess she was partying like normal and her friends thought she was too drunk, so they got a taxi for her and then she never made it home even though she got in the taxi, I guess. It like he took her and he went to State Road 45 in Brown County and like dumped her
Yep.
there.
Yep.
And I guess while he was in prison, he bragged to his cellmate that he frequently like cruised that area looking for like young women to sexually assault and kill. So, and he had also been convicted of a similar abduction in 2012. So, a lot of people think maybe he saw her, grabbed her, like,
Yeah.
because he was
Yep.
cruising around. Um, but I guess, I don't know, the Bloomington police said they looked into it and they later ruled it out somehow.
Well,
So,
I'm not
who
putting
knows?
too much stock in that
Yeah, but I think that could have definitely happened because
for
he
sure.
was definitely in the area at that time and stuff. So, another suspect a lot of people like saying is Israel Keys. So he was arrested in 2012. You don't know him?
No.
You haven't heard of him? Okay, so he like abducted and killed strangers and his murders went back as far as 1997.
Oh
And like
wow.
he's the murder kit guy. Like he stashed the murder kits in different states and he would go travel
Oh,
there
I see.
and
Uh-huh.
dig them
Yep.
up.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And then he would just pick someone at random to kill, like when he was in the area.
Right.
And he lived in Alaska. So I guess like when he got caught in 2012, so I guess he was still out and about,
Yeah, he
could have
could have.
been.
Yeah.
Um, and also like I guess he committed suicide in prison because he didn't want to wait for a conviction and the death penalty or whatever. So they
Hmm.
couldn't like get more out of him. But I guess in his jail cell, he left behind a painting drawn in his own blood of 11 skulls, which he had only told investigators about 4 murders, but people think he had 11 since he did that.
Well, and
So,
if he's killing at random like that, I'm sure it'd be hard to track him. So,
right. But I still feel like maybe wouldn't you find a body? I don't know.
well, I mean,
Eventually,
if he only if they only convicted him of 4 and he had 11, I mean, he might be good
right?
at hiding them.
Well, or they couldn't connect him to those ones. They could have
True.
still found the body,
Well, that's
but
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd say the biggest theory in my mind is that she ended up overdosing in the townhouse because of her heart condition and mixing all the drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
And then the guys who were there covered it up.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm landing at, but I don't know. The I don't know why they wouldn't call the police, but it's 4:30, they're all fucked up. They're scared
They're
if
scared.
that would have happened.
They're a bunch of college frat boys that don't want to
Right.
that don't want to ruin their life. That is honestly
Yeah.
what I was thinking the entire time, was
Yeah.
that everybody in that house, probably everybody in that like altercation that happened between leaving Kilroy and getting back, is probably involved in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Wh-
That's what
Whether
I'm thinking.
whether complicitly or just witnessing,
Yeah.
you know.
And there's a theory that Jay's 2 friends who were visiting took her in their car and dumped her back on their way back to Michigan
I was gonna
because
say,
they left the next day.
yeah, yeah.
And I guess the police never searched the car, like never got a chance.
Well, and to be fair, I mean, of all the people, like those would be the most unsuspecting people to do it
Right.
too, you know.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, with the condition, like you said, she was doing, she was mixing uppers and downers. She was very intoxicated, taking cocaine. I mean, it wouldn't be unsurprising for her to pass away from that level of drug use and alcohol. On top of, she hit her head 3 fucking times and she didn't catch herself
Right.
2 of those 3 times. She
Yeah.
could have had some serious head injury on top of anything else happening, which she probably did.
Right. Yeah, and I guess the private investigators ended up tracking down this friend's car from Michigan
Hmm.
like years later. They found that it had been sold in 2013 and again in 2018. And then once they found the car, I guess no one apparently was willing to spend the money to do a DNA search of the car. So I'm surprised, like her family, but I mean, how much does that cost, I guess? And maybe they thought at that point it was degraded or something, but they didn't check at all if her DNA was in that car.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
I'm not too sure on how much that would cost. I wouldn't think it would. If it would, I guess I can't say because I'm not. I hope to never ever be put in that situation. But I would be trying anything I could possibly get. That's what I'd be doing. I wouldn't care
right.
how much it would
Yeah,
cost. You know, it.
right.
I'll figure it out. So yeah, I don't know. But I
Yeah,
mean, maybe with it being so far, it might have been degraded.
yeah,
From just the
maybe.
time. But
Plus, it had been sold twice, and maybe
yeah,
they did a deep cleaning and so I don't know.
yeah, you get a detail clean. There probably wouldn't have been anything there anyway.
Yeah. And I guess the friend, like it was Alex's car, the friend, and he said the police did end up interviewing him, but they never searched his car. So this could definitely be what happened.
Yeah,
Or
that's
also, like Bloomington is like right by Kentucky, Illinois, and Ohio. Like they could have just driven across state lines
yep,
anywhere and like dumped her
yep.
in water.
Well, I was going to say you have the Ohio River that runs on the southern border between Kentucky and Indiana. I mean, it's a massive river with very deep spots, so
Right.
wouldn't be hard. So,
Yeah. So yeah, when this book came out that I talked about earlier, like
mhm.
the guy Sean Cohen, he reached out to the people of interest to like say, "Hey, you want anything in this book? Because it's coming out, and if you want to say your piece, I'm giving you the opportunity." And Jesse, I guess, responded by saying he wanted $100,000 to talk.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, like the ex-boyfriend or whatever. And then
Oh,
his dad, I guess, called Sean, like the investigator, and said if anything libelous was in the book, he'd sue. So he's threatening again.
oh my God.
And
Well,
then
you better
Mike,
shut up or we're both going to come and beat your ass.
right, yeah. Yeah, they haven't changed, I guess. Because this book came out last year. I don't know at what point he was working on it, but and then Mike, like Corey's roommate, he never responded. And then he did end up talking to David, the other out of town friend of Jay's. Um, and he said he wasn't interested in any interview, but he ended up saying that he had lawyered up as well, even
Oh.
though the police never talked to him. Like, no one ever talked to him, but he got a lawyer like immediately as well. So that's like weird, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, I like I said, I think you're spot on. I think she
Yeah,
OD'd. I think all of these guys are they either witnessed or they were involved and they're
yeah,
all just trying to save their ass and their buddy's ass too. I think
right.
that's what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, because in Jay's story, this David guy, he was supposed to be asleep already and didn't even see anything. So, like, why are you
Right.
gonna get a lawyer?
Yeah.
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 Corey did end up talking to the author, and he didn't really say too much. He did say, if she had OD'd, we would have called the ambulance. It's
Oh
like,
no, you
yeah,
wouldn't
okay,
have.
whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he also, like, the author asked him why he called his high school friend, like, Brooke,
Hmm.
but he just said, he couldn't remember, but then he also said it wasn't important, but he couldn't remember. It's like, okay, whatever. And um yeah, he also talked to Jay, and Jay said he was fine because he passed the lie detector test. So that's kind of all
Yeah,
he said. He
my lawyer gave me a lie detector test and he said I'm good.
right. Yeah, and he did say like he didn't regret anything. Like the author asked, like, would you have redone anything? And he was like, no, I thought it was safe. I let her go. I wouldn't redo it. It's like your friend
Oh, you're a
is
piece of
probably dead
shit.
and you wouldn't, yeah. So I thought
God.
that was crazy. Um,
Oh.
and the author did also get in contact with Brooke, like Corey's high school friend,
Mhm.
which she said she didn't remember much because at this point she was a drug addict. But she did say that, well, I guess after he talked to her, her mom called the author. And she said in June 2011, Brooke had called her mom and told her that Corey said the FBI was listening in on phone calls and to be careful on the phone what you talk about. So the mom thinks, like, I'm thinking, he has something to hide. So it's like, yeah, you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what happened. I guess the author's nephew's at IU, and not much has changed, like culturally with the
Yeah.
party and there's been other incidences and disappearances since Lauren too. So,
Well,
but
and I
yeah,
mean, it's not a. I don't think it's a unusual phenomenon in these party college towns. You know,
right.
I mean, fucked up
Yeah,
shit happens all the time just because people are assholes and drugs and alcohol are involved. So,
yeah. But it has been 14 years since she's been missing. And they were hoping, with the release of the book, more information would come. But I guess because that came out last year in May and not much has come out. So I feel
yeah,
like it's like one or two. It's these guys, really.
yeah,
Someone needs to say something.
it's
But
100%. It's 100% them, and
yeah,
we might get a deathbed confession, maybe,
yeah.
but
Or maybe they'll tell someone, like their spouse or their kid or something, like as a teenager or something. Or, like they tell their spouse or like I don't know.
yeah, I think they're too wrapped up in self-preservation to like they've been doing it for 14 years. Like they're probably not going to fucking say shit to anybody.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know, it's
And
probably
like,
it's probably
yeah,
one of those like, hey, we're gonna if we ever get together, the one friend gets drunk. It's like, hey, you remember that one time? They're like, shut the fuck up. We don't talk. You know what I mean?
right.
Like,
Yeah, and I think they still talk to each other because, like, the author said while he was calling people, like, one of them said, the other guy warned me about you or whatever.
yeah.
So, like,
Oh
they
yeah.
they are definitely watching each other's backs. So, yeah,
Well, it's real fucking unfortunate, but I think you're spot on.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
well, I mean, I don't know. It's a crazy thing that you go to college to get a higher education, and part of college, I think, is having fun and, doing wild stuff. But, you know, unfortunately, this is the culture we have too with that party sort of lifestyle. So
yeah. Yeah,
it's
most
one,
people are alcoholics, but they're not because they're in college. Like it doesn't count or
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But it's one of
yeah,
those, that old adage of live by the sword, die by the sword. So
right. Yeah, and it just takes like one thing to not be lucky.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, is that,
Yep,
what we got
that's
for
it.
that? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, in and on a
Yeah, I'll
cheery
put
note,
the
Sarah.
I'll put the information of who you can call if you have any information, any tips. But
Yeah. Yeah, so
yeah.
see, like I like talking about the conspiracy stuff because it's kind of like detached from reality. It's like stuff like this. It's like,
Yeah.
man, this is still an ongoing investigation. Like, I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, it is still open, so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, listeners, all that will be linked down below. If you have any tips, any helpful hints that could help any of the authorities, we'll have that link down below. Wherever you're listening to this, watching this, however you're consuming this content, interact with it. Give us a review, a like, a comment, a subscribe, whatever that may be on that piece of content. Check out the Patreon, and as always,
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not watching. See you next time on The Paranoid Perspective.